Where I'd like to begin with this end table is the dimensions of the top of it. It's 15 3/4 from back to front, and it's 19 inches from side to side. So let's begin. We'll get the rectangle tool, and we're going to make the red axis the width of the dresser from side to side, and that measurement was 19 inches. And then the depth of the dresser from front to back was 15 3/4. And then you'll push enter. So this is the dimension of the top of the dresser. Sorry, it's an end table, not a dresser, but I don't feel like starting over. Moving on. It is 26 inches tall. To establish the height of the dresser, you'll use the push-pull tool, which is P. You click on the dresser top, and you start bringing it upward. You're not clicking and holding anything, you only click. And here we're going to type in 26 inches. So now what we have in SketchUp is basically a big block of marble that we're going to carve into through subtractive transformation instead of additive transformation. Additive transformation would be taking piece by piece and assembling the end table, but instead I want to carve away to create it. So what we have is a 15 3/4 by 19 by 26 inch white box in SketchUp. And now I want to first carve in this face. So you see how if my whole big white block would be here, I now want to carve in a plane starting underneath here and pushing it all the way in to the front. So the top of the dresser is 5/8 of an inch thick, and everywhere below that 5/8 is pushed in to meet the front face of these legs. So it's 5/8 of an inch down from the top, and it comes in 1 inch. Here's our white box. This is the front of our end table. Down from the top, I'm going to use the tape measure tool, T, and bring a line downward. The thickness of the top of the end table was 5/8 of an inch. So I'm going to type in 5/8 and push enter. Now I'll take the rectangle tool R and align it to our tape measure mark. You might have to zoom in to make sure you fall on the line. Now we will use the push-pull tool, again, P. We're going to make sure we're moving inward along the box, and we'll just type 1 inch. So we just used the push-pull tool to push in this face. Now let's do the same thing to the two sides of the end table. So now we want to push in from here and push in from here. Once again, everything below 5/8, the thickness of the top of the end table, is what we're pushing in to meet the side of the legs. And this time we're pushing in 1 inch as well. Here's the left side of the end table. We'll need a rectangle, R. And I shouldn't need a tape measure line on this side because I can just meet where the indentation along the side is. So I'll click there and use the push tool, P, and I'm pushing in 1 inch. 1, enter. And now I'm going to do the same thing to the right side of the table. I'll start with a rectangle R. I'll come up. I'll meet the thickness that's already established of the top of the end table. Push tool P and push inward, and then type 1 and hit enter. As we go, please clean up your work. You can see right here we have an excess line that we don't need. You can use just the cursor, spacebar, and click on it and push delete. Or you can use the eraser E and click on the line to clean it up. You want to clean up the line on the other side as well. The back of the dresser doesn't indent as far. It's hardly at all. It's only about a 1/16. Let's spin to the back of the end table. We'll put a rectangle back here, R. And then the push tool, pushing it inward, but we need only a little bit. 1/16, 1/16. Push enter. See, that lip is just tiny compared to the 1-inch indentions on the other side. Next, I want to do something pretty dramatic. I want to draw a rectangle and push it all the way through to create a big hole in our box on SketchUp. What I'm going to need is a tape measure line coming down from underneath the thickness of the end table's top. So I need a tape measure line running here. I need a tape measure line running on the inside of each leg. And I need a tape measure line resting on top of this shelf. So I'm going to get those dimensions coming down from underneath the thickness of the table. I'm not on top of the table because this is already established, the tabletop. I'm underneath that. It comes down 5 5/8. That'll be our first tape measure line. It's going to come up from the ground 6 1/8. So a tape measure line coming up from the ground to establish this way. And then the thickness of each leg is 1 3/4. That's identical on both sides. So two tape measure lines coming in from the sides, 2 lines running this way. And those 4 lines together are going to create the rectangle that I need. And then I'll just trace along it with the rectangle tool and punch it all the way through to create a hole all the way through our big white box. That first line coming down from underneath the top of the end table, tape measure tool T, was 5 space 5/8, 5 5/8 of an inch. Coming up from the bottom was 6 1/8. Tape measure tool T, clicking on the bottom, moving upward, 6 space 1/8, enter. 6 1/8 of an inch. And now I'm coming in to establish the width of both legs, clicking with the tape measure tool, 1 space 3/4, 1 3/4 of an inch. And now I'm coming in from the other side as well, 1 space 3/4, 1 3/4 of an inch. And now I have created that rectangle that I need. So I'll now use the rectangle tool R, trace along the box that I made, push and pull tool P, click on it, and push all the way through. And when you meet the back side, it will light up like this, and it will say on face, and that means you've pushed all the way through. When it says on face, click, and it will blow the back side out. So now we have a hole all the way through our end table. We just pushed all the way through this way, and now we want to push through this way. This measurement is the same, 5 5/8. This measurement is the same, 6 1/8. What's going to be different about the size of this rectangle is going to vary based upon the thickness of these legs. So they're not 1 3/4 on both sides. They're only 3/4 here. So 3/4, 3/4, 5 5/8, 6 1/8. We'll create a rectangle here, and then we'll push this one through. Okay, I'm on the side of the end table. I'm coming down from the top. I can type in 5 space 5/8, or I can come look for this shared measurement on the left-hand side and align myself to it. That little X will pop up, and then I can just click like that. I'm going to come down to the bottom and do the same thing. Tape measure tool T, coming up from the bottom, and I'm going to come over here and meet that line there, 6 1/8, since that is shared. And then the thicknesses of the legs are different on the sides. So tape measure tool T, coming in from the side is, I need to make sure I'm on the green axis there. There we go. 3/4. From the other side, 3/4, enter. So now I have the outline of the box that I need. I'll push R for my rectangle tool. Push pull tool, I'm going to push until I meet the back side of this, and then push it. It won't always clear out, and if it doesn't, you can click spacebar to go back to your cursor. we have this paper thin wall still in our way. I'm going to use the cursor and click on it and push delete, and that'll clean out that. Now you can see the proper width of the legs. And now I need to go do the same thing on the other side. Come down from the top, 5 5/8, come up from the bottom, 6 1/8, come in from the sides along the green axis. If you ever get stuck with your axes being kind of messed up between green, red, you can toggle it by pushing the left cursor, top cursor, or right cursor. Your arrow buttons on your keypad will toggle. So make sure you're on green, and 3 4. Coming in from the other side, 3/4. Now I have the outlines of my rectangle that I need. Rectangle tool R, push tool P, push in till it says on face, click, switch to your cursor, spacebar, click on that paper thin wall and push delete. And as before, now we have a little bit of cleaning to do. You'll want to go through and clean up these lines that we do not need anymore. Next, we're going to add in the empty space at the bottom of the end table underneath the shelf. The shelf is 9/16 of an inch thick, so we'll use a tape measure line coming down from the top of the shelf and drop down 9/16. That'll establish the top of the rectangle that we need. The bottom of the rectangle will be the ground. The left and right side of the rectangle will be the inside of the legs, which we already have. And then the top of the rectangle will be this drop down 9/16. And then we're going to push in from here. Tape measure T, 9/16, 9/16. Rectangle tool R, push tool P, push it all the way in. Oh, it's going insane. Hang on, let's get a new position so it doesn't do that. Let me go back to the push tool P. Let's try again. Push it all the way, and it says on edge or on face. We're good to clear it out. And then we'll do the same thing along the sides. There is an extra piece here that's an extra board. I want to go back and add this later. Let's first go ahead and push it all the way through and blow out a hole that's the same height as the one on the front, and then we'll go back and retroactively add this board back in. Go to the side, tape measure tool, coming down 9/16 again, 9/16, enter. Rectangle tool R, push tool P until it says on face. Click it. If it leaves a paper thin wall there, push spacebar for the cursor and then push delete. You can also delete the little line. Click on that little bitty line and push delete. Go to the other side, do the same thing. T, downward, 9/16, rectangle tool R. All my tape measure lines are really starting to get in the way, so I'm going to clear some of them off. I'm going to push E to get to my eraser, and I'm going to start running it around and cleaning up some of these. It's getting a bit confusing. Alright, let's try once more. T, down from the top, 9/16. Oh, I did lose one that I needed. There we are. Okay, R. P. On face. Spacebar. Delete. Click. Delete. Do you see how the shelf on every side doesn't come out as far as the legs? It's pushed in, the sides are pushed in. You can see it, especially, where am I? Oh, here. You can see it right here, especially. This is the side of the table. It comes in by 1/4 of an inch. On the back side, it comes in by 5/8. Oh. as it does on the front side. So the edge of the shelf needs to be pushed in another 5/8 of an inch further in than the legs are on the front and the back. And then on the left and right side, they need to be pushed in 1/4 of an inch. The front and back need to come in 5/8 of an inch. Rectangle tool R. I'm going to draw all along the front side of the shelf. Push tool P. Make sure I can see what I'm doing. Push tool P, and I need to come in 5/8. Clean up my work. And then do the same thing to the back side, 5/8 of an inch. And clean up my work. And then the two sides were not 5/8, they were 1/4 of an inch. Rectangle tool R. Anytime you draw a line on top of an emptied out window, it will often reestablish the plane. So if it does that, you can just delete this again. This is not a problem at all. Just go to the cursor tool spacebar, click on it, and delete it once more. Okay, push pull. Now we're pushing in the shelf by 1/4 of an inch, 1/4. And we're cleaning up our work. And let's go to the other side and do the same thing. Rectangle tool. It's going to reestablish. Oh, it didn't establish it that time. That's good. Pushing it in 1/4. And cleaning up our work. I need that line. I don't need this little line right there. There we go. It's time to add back in these two boards on the left and right side that we left off. Oh, goodness. Oh. Okay. There's probably a couple ways to do this, but I recommend you orbit to the underside of your end table and then just measure in this distance from the underside of the shelf. And it is only 1/8 of an inch. And we want to measure the width of this board, and it's 3/4 of an inch, like our legs were. So what we'll do is we'll draw a rectangle on the underside of our shelf, and then we'll use the push-pull tool and pull a rectangle out to create a new little bitty box underneath the shelf that'll act as our board. Once we create the rectangle on the bottom, we're going to pull it 1.5 inches. Alright, this is the front of our end table, and here are our two sides. We're going to orbit to the underside of the end table. I have a couple lines I can get rid of here. I don't need the one that's already here. Okay, we are going to take our tape measure tool, and we're going to measure in only 1/8 of an inch. Then we're going to start on the tape measure line we just made and make another line for the thickness of the board, and it was 3/4 of an inch, 3/4. And now we're ready to make our rectangle R. Might have to zoom in to make sure you get right on that end point. I'm going to have to jump to the hand tool and scoot over a little bit, and then push R again to go back to resume my rectangle. Now I have a rectangle on the underside, and I'm going to pull it towards me with the push tool. And I need to pull it down 1.5 inches. Now I can rotate and see how that has now added that extra board down to the bottom. So now I need to go do the same thing on the other side. There we are, only 1/8, 1/8, enter. Starting on that line I just made, I need to go 3/4 of an inch, 3/4. I'm going to draw a rectangle, R. And now push-pull tool, pulling it down, and it needs to go 1 and 1/2, 1 1/2 inches down. Enter. And now we have the two boards on either side of our end table. We've completed the bottom of the end table, so now I want to move our attention to the top. The back side is very simple. We've already inset it once to match the face of the legs. We pushed it in a 1/16 of an inch, I believe. And now we need to push it in another 1/16 just for this rectangle right here. So let's draw a rectangle and push this in 1/16. Make sure you're looking at the back side of your end table. You'll know it's the back side because of the shallowness of this lip up here. Get the rectangle tool and draw from the inside of one leg to the inside of the other. And if you're having trouble locking on to the inside of that leg, you can come down here and reference it. You don't have to click anything, but then just move upward from it. Sometimes that can help keep it locked on to where it needs to be. If that didn't work, you could have also taken the tape measure tool and brought it in to the line so that you just have a line to work with there. That could have worked as well. Okay, let's take the push tool, and we're just going to push this in 1/16, 1/16, and then we're going to clean up our work. So I'm going to clean up my work here, and I click on this line, and it's deleting a whole face every time I go to delete it. This means that when I went to draw that left edge of the rectangle, it did not align with the inside of the leg. So I have this problem here. I'm going to redraw the rectangle now, and I'm going to add in the tape measure lines, and I'm going to see if that helps get us a little more accuracy. Tape measure 1 3/4. I'm going to go to the other side, tape measure 1 3/4. And now let's draw that rectangle. Now let's push it in 1/16, 1/16. And now when we go to clean up our work, let's see if our face will stick around. It does. The back gave us a little more trouble than I hoped. Let's do the side now. We're going to do something similar for the side. So this entire rectangle, ignoring this lip here, so we're going to go from the underside of the top of the end table to the very bottom of it here. We're going to push all that in, and we're going to push it the full amount inward that this upper box is. And from the outside of the leg, it comes in 1/2 of an inch. So we're going to draw this rectangle and push it in 1/2 an inch. Then we're going to draw the top of this little board and pull it back out. And it needs to come out 1/8 of an inch. I don't want to have the difficulties that I had with the backside, so I'm going to take the tape measure tool. I'm going to bring it in from the side, and I'm going to come click on the edge of the leg so I can make sure I have that line established. Rectangle tool R. Draw this rectangle. Push-pull tool, I'm going to push it inward 1/2 an inch, 1/2, enter. The height of that box, which I didn't mention a second ago, is 7/8 of an inch. So I'm going to type 7/8, enter. Now I need to draw a rectangle on top of that one. I'm going to orbit a little bit so I can see both sides. Rectangle tool. There we are. And now we want to pull this one out, and it needs to come out only 1/8, 1/8, enter. Okay, so there is one side pushed all the way in, and then that little articulated edge along the bottom pulled back out by 1/8, and that was 7/8 of an inch tall. We'll go do the other side. Adding in our tape measure lines again. Better safe than sorry. We'll draw a rectangle, R. We'll push it in by 1/2 inch, 1/2. We're going to draw our tape measure line for our articulated edge. It was 7/8, 7/8. No, something happened. Let's try again. Coming up, 7/8. There we are. And now a rectangle. And we're going to pull that articulated edge out by only 1/8, 1/8. And there we are. Now we'll do a little bit of cleaning. The only thing left is the front face, the drawer. So let's draw this rectangle here, and let's push it in by 1/16. And then let's draw an interior rectangle here and push it in another 1/16. That should be about right. The height of these are 9/16 each. Yeah, 9/16 up, 9/16 down. That'll give us the top and bottom of this rectangle. So let's draw this rectangle, push it in a 1/16. Let's come down 9/16 and up 9/16 to give ourselves another rectangle, and let's push it in another 1/16. Okay, I'm ready to work on the front face and the drawer. I need to get rid of some of these measurements. It's getting a little bit confusing. Clean up just a little bit. I'm going to keep this one and this one. I'm going to need that in just a second for my drawer. Alright, cleaning. Okay, here we go. Let's first draw that rectangle that we're going to push in. And let's push it in, P 1/16, 1/16. Okay, then we need our tape measure, and we're going to come up from the bottom 9/16, 9/16, and we're going to come down from the top 9/16, 9/16, and that gives us the rectangle for our drawer. So I'm going to orbit just a little bit, see if I can get aligned here, and rectangle tool. I'm going to draw this rectangle. This is supposed to be the drawer. And I'm going to push this in as well, just another 1/16. So pushing in 1/16. There we are. So there is the upper articulation and the bottom articulation, and then the face of the drawer. Let's clean up just a little bit, and then we'll add the decoration and the knob. The sun's going down. It's only been 28 minutes for you, but it's been like 3 hours for me. We're losing our light a bit, but I want to add this decoration and this knob to finish off our end table. The decoration is just a flat-out nightmare, and you're not going to remember any of this, especially because we have to get into 30 seconds. So this first gap is 27/32 of an inch. Every little groove here is 3/16, and the width of every rectangle is 1 3/4. And then we're going to come down from the top 13/16, and then we'll have our 3/16 inch gap. I wouldn't try to remember any of that or write it down. Just follow along. I'm going to start here on the left edge. I'm going to do our first measurement, and then the next measurement will be the width of the groove. And I'm just going to add all of these vertical lines all the way down first, and then I'll add all of our horizontal lines. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And then that's going to show us where to plug in these rectangles. Okay, let's begin our tape measure marathon. Starting on the left-hand side, we're going to come in 27/32 of an inch, 27/32. Then from there, we're going to move to the right 13/16. No, 3/16, 3/16. Then we're going to move across 1 and 3/4, and then 3/16 again, 3/16, 1 3/4 again, 3/16 again, 3/16, 1 3/4 again, 1 space 3/4, enter, 3/16 again, 3/16, 1 3/4 again, 1 space 3/4, 3/16 again, 1 3/4, 3/16 again, 1 3/4 one last time, and 3/16. Then from the top, tape measure tool, make sure we're on that inner line there. Yeah. And we're going to come down 13/16, 13/16, and then we're going to come down from that line 3/16, and then we're going to repeat that up from the bottom. Rotate where I can see the inside of that tape measure, get on the right edge and move up 13/16, and then we're going to move up 3 1/16. Now what we want to do is make our rectangles, and what we want is an overall rectangle for the 6 panels of the decoration. So take your R rectangle tool, and we're going to add this one, and then we need a rectangle on these 6 panels. Rectangle number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. And the line running around these 6 panels is what is inset. It's what's carved in, not the panels themselves. So what we're going to do is take the push-pull tool, and we're going to push in the line by 1/16. Oop, we came out 1/16. Let's try that again. Push in 1/16. There we are. So now we have that little decoration of those 6 rectangles carved into the drawer. And now the knob. We're going to simplify it a bit. Instead of doing all these crazy curves, let's just think of it as 2 cylinders, a narrow cylinder and then a larger cylinder. The larger cylinder has a diameter of 1 1/4, so that'd be a radius of 5/8, and then the more narrow cylinder has a radius, a diameter of 1 inch, so it'll have a radius of a 1/2 inch. And then we'll just make the depth of each one a 1/2 inch each. It's a little bit generic, but I don't want to obsess. So I mean, it'd probably take us longer to do just this one little detail than it took us to do the whole thing if we were being faithful to every articulation. So let's add that knob, and we're going to call it quits for the day. For the knob, we'll need a tape measure, and we need to find the midpoint between these 2 rectangles at the center. So I'm going to use the tape measure and run a line corner to corner, and then the top right to the bottom left corner as well. And the place these cross is our center. So now what we need is a circle. That is C for circle tool. Click on the intersection and start to drag it outward, and then the radius of that first circle is a 1/2, 1/2. Then we'll need the push tool. We're going to pull out all 3 pieces of this. It'll save us a little bit of pain later. A 1/2 inch, a 1/2 inch, a 1/2 inch. Now I would delete these inner lines. So here's our first cylinder. You can delete these top lines as well. And we need one more cylinder. So we'll take the circle tool again. We need to find the center of this circle. Sometimes you can go hover over an anchor and then just kind of float back to the middle, and it'll lock in and say center. So we'll come outward, and then we'll type in 5/8, and that is not correct. Let's try that again. 5/8. Why is it doing that? Okay, I think the measurement can go a bit haywire if you don't make sure. You see the line running down through the middle of the circle. You really need to be on an axis. You probably either need to be on the red or the blue here as you're working your way, and then type in the measurement. So make sure you're hovering on the axes and then 5/8. That's going to help with the measurement rather significantly. Okay, and then we're going to push both of these out a 1/2 inch, and we're going to pull out this one a 1/2 inch. And there we are. There's our knob. Now we're going to clean up a bit. We're going to get rid of a bunch of these lines out here. I'm just using eraser tool E to get all my work removed. There we are. And that's the end table. If you see any other things that might need to be cleaned up, go through, get things cleaned up. I don't believe you'll be able to delete that circle on the front face. It affects the inner cylinder if you do, so it's okay to leave that circle. Spin around the back side, see if I see anything else that needs to be cleaned up. Oh, there's a couple lines here. You did it. You completed your first ambitious SketchUp build. Well done. More to come.